start with. And I can do a little bio if you like. I can just have you jump in and
Yeah,
share.
let's skip the bio, shall we?
Okay.
Let's skip the bio.
I think the bio and credit speak for themselves as people are just continuously coming. So, welcome to the room, Dicken Bettinger. And
Well, Kelly, I wanted to say how welcomed you made everybody feel. I think that's wonderful. It gave me a lot of chance to look at who's here, and I'm just really blown away by so many folks that I know well, and so many folks that I will soon know better.
Mhm.
So I feel like I have an awful lot of friends here. So that's nice. Kelly said, I don't want to set any parameters on what you talk about. You can talk about whatever you want. And I sat with it as I always do and waited to see what occurred, what came up, what felt alive, what felt fresh. And I don't know, it's something in the air right now. This I was able to get vaccinated. Everybody in my family, we're starting to do things. We don't have to wear masks if we don't want to. Um, we're getting out. We live in the most beautiful. I live in the Pacific Northwest, and my wife and I have been getting out for some amazing hikes in our area. And the beauty right now, there are flowers everywhere, just everywhere. And so I guess it comes as no surprise. And we've had beautiful blue sky weather for some time now. And I guess it comes as no surprises that what occurred to me to talk about is falling in love with life. uh, and it's something that I have celebrated with people. The fact that everybody, whether we know it or not, we're all lovers. We're all lovers, everybody. I've seen no exceptions to this. Um, it doesn't always appear that way because we get so caught up in our thinking that it covers over our hearts. And we start living in the world of our thinking and we start believing our thinking to be true. And then we're screwed. It's sort of like we put on a Halloween mask and we forget that we've put on a mask, and pretty soon we look in the mirror and we think that's who we are. So, whoever you see in the mirror, you're not. You're not. You're way more beautiful than you think. Because anything you think is not going to in any way represent what it means to be a lover. Now, it's one of the oldest metaphors in the world that people can drop out of their head into their heart. And we tend to think of our heart as just being a physical organ in our body. But the heart I'm talking about is the heart that has been talked about in spiritual traditions for centuries. And that heart is the loving, generous life for, force that gives birth to everything in the universe for free. Just keeps birthing. It's such a generous gift that anything exists. It's a miracle. No one can explain it, that out of nothing, everything shows up. No one can explain how it looks like we're physical beings, but that's only the tip of the iceberg of who we are, and that we're really connected to the energy of all of life, whether we know it or not. So it truly makes sense to me that we're spiritual beings living through a physical body. and that the body and spirit are intimately connected as one. I've always loved the metaphor of we think we're just little waves on the surface of the ocean because that's the visible part, right? But when we look down metaphorically, when we drop out of our waveness, there's nothing but water. There's nothing but ocean. People talk about the ocean of consciousness. We live within the ocean of consciousness. Consciousness is not within us. We live within the ocean of consciousness. Now, another word for the ocean of consciousness is the heart, called the heart. So I wanted to talk with you about, I wanted to play with this metaphor of falling out of our thinking minds, out of our ideas and concepts, out of our head, into not just the heart of us, but the heart of the universe. If you're familiar with the principles, we'll call them the heart of the principles. What are the principles? The ocean of life, the life energy, the life force that creates from invisible into visible. The creator God, the divine spirit that generates and creates all of life, that lives us and is living us and has always been living us. I mean, we don't have any problem thinking about, well, a computer wouldn't be called a computer if it couldn't compute. And what allows it to compute is an energy that comes from outside of itself. And this energy has to be generated somewhere. And without that energy force, the computer wouldn't work. Well, we're like that. Our physical being is like the laptop. It's a wonderful gift. It's a beautiful gift. Just like a flower is a beautiful gift, a tree is a beautiful gift, babies are beautiful gifts. We're beautiful gifts, generously given for free from the universe. So the great discovery throughout the ages, called the wisdom of the ages, is that we are intimately a part of the whole. And that out of this infinite field of creative life energy, which is the source of all life, you can call it anything you want to, because any name is just made up, right? But it's been called life energy, it's been called spirit, it's been called God, it's been called the creative source, the fertile void, the infinite field of life energy, the quantum field. They're just different names to celebrate the fact that we are intimately connected to this field of life energy. In the same way, you could say a computer is intimately connected to the power source that allows it to do what it does. That allows us to see our grandkids and have a sensory experience of that, so that our hearts melt, so that we get excited, so that we can see their curly hair, so that we can touch their incredibly smooth skin, so that we can laugh with them, right? Consciousness is a way of talking about the way the life force brings our senses to life so that we can celebrate this moment for what it is, a miracle. Brings our senses to life. It's a miracle that right now I can see you looking at me. It's a miracle I can hear Kelly talking to you, right? That I can feel the chair that I'm sitting on. Okay. When we're born lovers. We're born out of love, into love, as love, and we walk around celebrating the beauty and mystery of life. I would love to have you come with me and hang out for a couple hours with my 1-year-old and 4-year-old grandkids so that you can see what I mean, be reminded of who you are by some of our greatest teachers. Go to a playground at any school. Everything is possible. There's sheer enjoyment for its own sake. No searching for something better, no critique of oneself, no falling short on our expectation scale of what we should be, just living fully in the now. I'm so excited about that topic and the implications of that I'm doing a 6-week series on that. It's also no surprise then that I would think about this whole topic of falling in love with life. So I want to say a little more about that. We're born lovers, which means we have a greater degree of peace of mind because we don't judge ourselves greatly when we're very, very young. We have a greater degree of enjoyment of our senses. I watch my little 1-year-old, every little thing becomes an object of wonder. It's unbelievable to watch how much wonder she lives in, how much awe, how much delight, how much joy she lives in. And just this embrace of life, embrace of people, a kindness, a warmth toward life. This is why this dimension of life has often been called the heart, because when we drop into this space, when we drop into this life connection, this life energy, it awakens our true self, feelings of peace, joy, love. It does that. I've seen that happen with people who are clinically depressed. I've seen that happen with people who have been diagnosed with the worst of the worst mental illnesses, that when they fall out of their thinking filled with judgments and shoulds and expectations, and they experience peace of mind like anybody else. They experience warmth and kindness. They become friendly. Become kind. They become kind. The Dalai Lama says learning about yourself is the direct path to kindness. He says, that's my religion. It's the religion of kindness. Well, you can't talk about the heart. You can't talk about a wisdom-based understanding of life without talking about kindness. So let me see if I can say a few more things about this, and then we can talk about it. It's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing that we are given this gift of the capacity to use our mind like a computer. It's a great thing. It's a great thing to be able to have the capacity to conceptualize. I watch my little young grandkids learning language and being able to label things. Bird, bird, with great joy and excitement that I can now say the word for that thing flying in the sky. Banana. Oh my gosh, to be able to ask for what you want that you've learned you enjoy eating. My little grandkids learned sign language for more, and the great excitement they had in being able to communicate using words and language. And then our conceptual mind creates time. So we can say, tomorrow we're going to the park to swing. Yesterday, I went to Joey's birthday party. So we can communicate time. You're going to have to go to bed in 5 minutes. I'm telling you right now, you have 5 minutes before you have to stop playing and it's time for your nap. 5 minutes, which is meaningless to most kids. Any of you are parents know. A very loose definition of time. It allows us to have memories. Our computer mind can store memories and pull out memories. My 4-year-old loves his bicycle. And so the instant he gets a thought about bicycles or a memory of bicycles, he gets all excited because it means riding on dirt tracks and jumping high in the air, right? Being with friends. Now, we're free thinkers, so we can use this computer capacity of our mind wisely. And it's a beautiful thing to play with ideas, to play with memory, to play with time. Then concepts can be a playground. But as free thinkers, we're also free to hold on to thoughts that create tension, stress, and upset. And then get involved in that thinking. And then keep thinking those thoughts. Because we have free will. We're free thinkers. We're free to think about things that we want to. And so it's a beautiful thing when we begin to learn the nature of thought and how every thought that we think creates a feeling. And we begin to see, wait a second, if I keep thinking about this, I'll keep feeling anxious or upset. And it's one of the greatest gifts that people can have is to wake up to the fact of thought, the fact that we're sitting here constantly and whatever we think about, we're going to feel, and that's normal and that's natural. But when we're aware of that as free thinkers, we have the option to keep thinking about something or to let it go. We actually have the option of closing our laptop, closing our computer, letting go of literally everything we're thinking in that moment. My teacher, Sid Banks, says that's the absolute greatest thing a human being can discover, is that we can let go of everything we're thinking. And then here comes the metaphors, because we can only talk about metaphors. Like right now, if you let go of everything you're thinking and you just describe to me what your experience of just right now, just letting go of every single thing you're thinking. Now you may still have thoughts, that doesn't matter. But now as a 16-year-old person just told me the other day, I was talking to it, she said, Dicken, it's like they're going by in the background. I'm not thinking them foreground. Right? I've let them go. They can do whatever they want. They can come and go. They can, but I'm here. Now, right now, when I let go of my thinking, they start using metaphors. These have been used for centuries of falling, right? You fall out of your thinking into the now, into the present moment, falling. Falling asleep means you have to let go of everything you're thinking or you won't fall asleep. And those of you who keep thinking while you're trying to fall asleep know what I'm talking about. There's a difference between thinking and falling asleep. There's falling in love. You see somebody and you go, boom, and you are so wide open to your senses, it's unbelievable. Because otherwise you wouldn't feel peace, joy, or love. You wouldn't become the lover that you are in that moment. The capacity built into everybody to enjoy this moment as it is, free of thoughts that say, I shouldn't, I should, there's better, there's worse, what's wrong with me? Free of that thinking. Some people say we fall into the freedom space, free of limited thinking, free of concepts, free of judgments. Sid Banks says, if you want to discover your well-being, it's very simple. You just have to go beyond all concepts in that moment, just for a moment. Just stop holding on to your thinking. Let go, let God. Fall, let go, drop in. I like this notion that our heart is the permanent drop-in center within everybody. And that drop-in center is open 24/7, and there's always a Kelly Mabel friendly welcome waiting for you in the drop-in center. Hi, how you doing? Thanks for joining this community of souls. I love seeing people learn the beauty of release, of surrender, of dropping in to life. Waking up is a metaphor I love. Waking up out of the spell of our conceptual view of life into the now, which is free of concepts. If you really see a tree without concepts, your life will be changed forever. If you really see the person that you're with without concepts, you will fall in love with that person exactly as they are. No concepts, no label, no judgment, no past, no future. Those are all concepts. Those of you who have dogs know that your dogs will forgive you over and over again and keep seeing you without concepts and love you in spite of your insanity, right? In spite of how you might treat them at times, in spite of anything. This sort of unconditional. It's unconditional because it's not dependent upon anything in the world. So Sid says, this learning about how our minds work, learning about thought, consciousness, and mind, as in universal thought, universal consciousness, universal mind, as in heart thought, heart consciousness, heart mind, universal space of freedom, being, joyfulness, presence, aliveness, our birthright, our birth by the universe, right, being right with the world. He says is a journey of love because it starts in love. It starts, the birth of awe and wonder is the instant we're fully present to life in the moment as it is, free of concepts. So we're born and we're given the gift of a couple of years as our conceptual mind slowly develops. We're given the gift of being born wide open to our senses, fully present, what some people call our natural state. Some people call it the always present state behind or beneath or beyond our personal thinking. That's why people pray and meditate all over the world. They have moments of going beyond their personal thinking, of letting it go, of falling into the now deeply and experiencing the heart of life, feelings of aliveness and connection. Think of something you love doing, and that's one area of your life where you've given yourself permission to let go of everything you're thinking while you're doing it, or you wouldn't love it. You wouldn't love it. Most of us don't know we can drop in at any point, even in the worst of situations. And I've seen the truth of that. I found out that I can drop in while I was in a war zone thinking I was going to die in Peru on vacation and for a week surrounded with guns and shooting and tanks. And I discovered that even in that situation, the heart is free and available and open for business 24/7. So we can talk about unconditional love, which means we can fall into the heart at any moment, no matter what's happening in our life, and begin to experience the benefits of that space. We experience more peace of mind because we're no longer tormented by all the judgments we were believing a minute before. That's why they talk about falling in love. The contentment. Contentment is just the absence of our conceptual mind for a moment. Sid Banks says mental health is contentment. That's all it is, contentment. Peace of mind is freedom from being influenced by the voices in your head that say, not good, could be better, what's wrong with you, what's wrong with them, judgments, labels, prejudices, prejudgments, judgmental thinking. Free of that, peace of mind. And then any human being I've worked with or seen or met, when people's minds get quieter or people get, for a moment, free of the content of their thinking, become very present. And when we become present, Sid Banks called that space pure consciousness, sometimes pure consciousness, awareness that's free of contaminated thinking, concepts that judge and distort our view of life. Awareness, pure consciousness. You also call that our soul. We drop from our head into our soul. Why is it called the soul? Because soul has to do with music and poetry and art, and it's where poets and musicians and artists know that if they drop into their soul, their senses come alive and they experience beauty. My wife's an artist. Her whole self-described description of herself as an artist is, I want to experience beauty and then bring the experience of that onto my canvases so that when people look at my art, they also will drop into that space where they experience beauty. That's what I am as an artist. I help bring more beauty into the world. Musicians drop into this sacred space of where our senses come alive. What Eckhart Tolle teaches about the power of the now, the beauty of the now. You walk in the woods, if you're in your heads, you will not experience beauty. You fall from your head into this space of immediate presence, and you will start to see beauty everywhere. You'll fall in love with the trees. Okay, let me make this universal. You're washing the dishes. If you're in your head going, I hate washing dishes. I wish I didn't have to do this. I got to get this done so that then I can go and enjoy myself, yada, yada, yada. You're going to be miserable every time you wash the dishes because you live in the feeling of your thinking. And if you wake up to that fact and you go, oh, and you've made the great discovery that beyond our thinking is peace, enjoyment, and kindness, connection, feeling of intimacy, if I dare say. And so that I can wash the dishes either from my head and I barely even see what I'm doing or know what I'm doing, or those times when I fall out of my thinking and I'm washing the dishes, I tell you, warm, soapy water on your hands is ecstatic. To rub a plate clean with soapy water and run it under this warm water, oh, a delight. Our senses sing when we're disconnected temporarily from our intellect, from our label maker, from our information processor. When for a moment we fall fully present into our heart, if you will, what you do, your senses will come alive in that moment. I'm reading a book called The Happiest Man Alive. He was in like 6 different concentration camps as a kid. And he discovered that even in that nightmarish, horrific circumstance, that when he would become fully present, he had hope and he made friends. And he says, if you have hope and you have a connection with people, generosity, kindness, warmth, friendship, you can survive anything. It's the essence of what it is to be a happy person. You discover the great secret passed on through the ages, that we can use our thinking mind wisely, and it's very helpful. I love thinking about things and making plans and saying, I'll meet you for lunch tomorrow. And didn't we have a great time yesterday? That was so fun, walking through the woods. Oh my gosh. And And sitting around the fire with our friends and having a glass of wine. Remember that? Remember, oh, that was so fun. Okay, that's the wise use of the mind. And then as soon as we start using our intellect unwisely, it creates tension, stress, or upset. And that feeling of tension, stress, or upset is your best friend reminding you of the drop-in center, of your heart. It's an alarm clock going off to wake you up to the now. Thank God we feel tension, stressed, or upset. It very simply says you're a thinker and you're continuing to feed this thought and believe it to be true. Let it go. Drop it completely. And it has no truth to it because there's nothing to it. It's invisible. It's just energy. And if you let go of energy, it disperses the power of the now. Tibetan Buddhists say that thoughts, when we're fully present, thoughts self-liberate. They come, they show up, they disappear. They come, they show up, they disappear. Or as a good friend of mine says, it comes in one ear and goes right on through and out the other ear. Or as my new 16-year-old friend says, Dicken, it's like music playing, but it's really in the background. It's just going by in the background. When I wake up in the morning, I often start thinking about stuff. And there's a feeling to that. And then I have a choice to keep thinking about what I'm thinking about, or wake back up to this space and get more and more familiar with the freedom space, the beauty space, the alive senses space, the feeling connected love space. Put it all together, it's what's called the heart. And it's the heart of the universe, because it's out of that generosity of spirit, everything is created. Everything is created from that space. The Taoists call it the fertile void. Fertile, full of birthing potential and possibilities. When our minds quiet down, we get new feelings, new sensations, new thoughts. A creative space. The space embraced by artists, writers, poets, and any of us who enjoy the experience of finding new and fresh experience and thinking. And I laugh if anybody says I'm not creative. Your very essence is creativity. There is no one on this planet who's not creative. We just don't know it because we get caught up in thinking in a way that's not necessarily helpful. So I have had the great honor and fortune to being present to people waking up to their true nature. Became a psychologist 44 years ago, 33 years ago, 34 years ago. I met Sydney Banks, and he helped me see that I, too, in spite of my belief that I didn't have enough well-being and I had to keep working to develop it. He says, you have perfect well-being. You're a perfect lover, a perfect sensory alive human being. You're a perfect peacemaker. And it's just a matter of waking up to that truth. He said it happened to me They called it enlightenment. I fell into a space so far beyond my conceptual mind that I experienced nothing but peace, beauty, and love that was beyond my wildest imagination. And I realized that's our true nature. Changed my relationship to my kids. When I heard him say that, I fell out of my thinking. I stopped searching and trying to have more well-being. I fell out of my thinking into this heart, this universal, always welcoming heart. And tears came to my eyes as I realized, had a glimpse of truth, that I wasn't broken, that I had perfect well-being like anybody else, that I'm connected to the infinite life energy that's characterized by intelligence, awareness, and creativity. Those are the three fundamental forces that govern life and human beings. That which is most foundational, the very essence of life, are the principles, are formless energy that can create. That's the principle of thought, infinite formless energy that allows us to be aware of life, principle of consciousness, the infinite field of energy that's already connected and one. It's total. It has to be love. It's total. It's all one. One mind, one consciousness, one thought, one being. So we're human beings and we're all these infinite forms, but we're all connected to the same being. We we have a shared being. The drop-in center is open to all. We're all little waves on the same ocean of life. We can all get glimpses of that through insight. Insight just means falling within and seeing what life looks like when we're not in our conceptual mind. We become born again, newborn consciousness, seeing life fresh, new, unfiltered by concept. We can all get more and more familiar with that space, even if we've forgotten. We can be reminded and remember. Means to join as one member, remember, come together as one. Wholeness, oneness. We're human. So at times, all of us, I sure do, get caught up in our thinking. We experience tension, stress, and upset. We've lost sight of our true nature temporarily. So we tend to think that that feeling is being created by something in the physical world. And we get tricked. We start thinking that it is what the other person said that made us feel what we're feeling. We start thinking it's the amount of work we have that's creating our stress. We start thinking that it's being alone that makes us feel so bad. Innocently, we attribute our experience to something other than the creative powers of the principles. We get stuck in our thinking. We keep thinking about something and it keeps creating anxiety or stress. But the good news is we can remember, we can wake up to what's true, to what's always here. When we let go of everything, do the great experiment. This is what the mystics have been begging us to do for centuries. Do the great experiment. Let go of everything and see what remains, see what's left, see what's still here. When I'm thinking, my vision and focus and experience becomes very narrow. And when I wake up and come back to the now, it's suddenly, here's the whole room I'm in. I come back to the room, I come back to my senses, and there's the tree, here's my hand, I hear my voice, I feel the chair. I see your faces. It's all here now, present. So I wake up out of the limited ideas I was thinking about into this spacious moment called the now, wide open, open mind, open senses, open heart. So we learn that we can rest in that heart space. Just rest in openness. Now, the intellect's going to throw a little fit because when we close the laptop and rest in wide openness, we've temporarily disconnected from our intellect. And so we know nothing. So we say you go from the known to the unknown. You don't know anything. But I found out when I don't know anything, I feel better. And when I feel better, I do better. It was the greatest secret to me in parenting. My kids would be acting up if when I thought about what they were doing or what I should do, I was useless. I would just get tripped up in ideas and I wasn't parenting from my heart. I was parenting from my head or from books or from what other people told me or thought I should do or shouldn't do. And I'm tormented. And then I drop into the unknown, drop into my lover, the beloved, drop into this space where I don't have a clue what to say or do to my kids, but I start feeling better. And as I feel better, the instant I'm in the now, one thought away, I feel more present, more open. And in that feeling, there's knowing, and I know better. Parenting from common sense, not from knowledge stored in memory. Parenting from your heart. Being with my wife where I don't have to know what to say or do in response to things. I just drop into my drop-in center and wisdom knows. The heart knows. The heart knowing knows. So the paradox is when we don't know anything from our intellect is when this wisdom knowing becomes brighter, stronger, more evident, lives us perfectly. When you drive a car, if you're thinking too much, you're going to have accidents. So you have to drop into the now while you drive to a greater degree. And when you're in the now, you're making life and death decisions without thinking about it. That's the power of wisdom. It's an intelligence that knows how to make decisions without you having to think about making decisions. So I get upset with my wife, and I know that I've gotten locked in the world of ideas, and I drop out of that, fall into love. And the instant I feel better, I know better. I just go be with her, and whatever occurs to me fresh is what is said. So I don't have to plan and think and know what to say, what to do. And I found out that that works, if you will, in any situation, working in companies where they're having to make multi-million-dollar decisions and learning that once they start learning how the mind works, they drop into this space where they're more present, they listen better, they're more creative. They say there's no problem that we can't solve. They keep getting new and fresh ideas, a continual flow that they share with one another until their collective wisdom goes, oh, that's a perfect idea. Let's do that. Without fight, without argument, without judgment, without egos. So pretty soon people say, come to the meeting, but leave your ego at the door. In other words, temporarily set aside everything you think you know and be open to hearing new and fresh, both from other people as well as from your own wisdom. Practical, practical, practical. Drop into the heart space of not knowing, and there you will find your answers. Sid Banks called that space the ultimate answer. Think of it this way. When I drop into that space, here's some of the things I've realized human beings find: peace, joy, love, insight, true understanding, inspiration, motivation, aspiration, clarity, perspective, common sense, solutions to problems, purpose, meaning, aliveness. Can you understand why Sid Banks said this space is the ultimate answer? And then you'll begin to see how ironic it is that when any of us is having trouble, our tendency is to go into our computer as opposed to run into the space of peace, joy, love, insight, inspiration, motivation, aspiration, clarity, perspective, new ideas, new and fresh, until you insightfully realize that that's your greatest resource. Always here now with you. We fall out of the noise of our thinking into the quiet that's always there underneath the noise of our thinking. So one of my favorite quotes from Sid is, truth is always found in silence and a feeling. Well-being is always found in the state of no thought, where we're free of our thinking. Thoughts are free to dance around in the background. The state of no thought and the feeling of love are coupled together like lovers. You said if you're looking for well-being, you're a thought away from it, and it's the state of no thought. That's another name for the heart. No thought. Awake. Another name for the heart. Awake. Relaxed. Another name for the heart. Open. Another name. Free. Another name. Many, many names for our true self. But as Sid says, you can't appreciate a single one of these unless you go beyond all the words, my words, your words, to drop into that freedom space over and over and over again. And it's in that space that you will be taught all the great secrets to life for free. I don't care who you are, no exceptions. I don't care what your circumstance is or your situation. And God knows we find ourselves in some horrific circumstances. And anything you feel is normal. But beneath that is this space always. Okay. I would love to throw the doors open here. And what are people hearing? If anything comes alive for you, new and fresh, if your intellect has a burning question, all of that is welcome. We got plenty of time.
Hi, Kelly. Can I say something?
Yes, please, Susan.
Oh, hi. Yeah, thank you very much. What an amazing talk. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Something that really hit home for me was your statement that tension and anxiety is your best friend to remind us to drop into our heart center and let go of that thinking. And that is so amazing and such a simple concept. And that's probably my mantra now from going forward. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan.
For a long time, I thought stress and anxiety for me were a curse. And I hated feeling that way. And I tried everything to get rid of it. And now I see it's part of this beautiful wisdom-based system. And it serves a beautiful purpose. But the feeling is not a statement about the outside world. That's an invitation to the inside world. It's a reminder of our wholeness when we lose sight of it. It's a reminder that we're lovers, whether we know it or not. It's a gift, really. Honestly, I truly did not. It was probably only a few years ago that I had this insight as deeply as I do now, where I can finally proclaim that those feelings are actually gifts for human beings if you understand what they're pointing toward. Just like when we have a fever is a gift. It lets us know there's an infection going on. If we didn't have that signal, we could die of fever and infection and never even have a clue there was something going on. So a fever is a gift built into nature to alert us, to let us know. Pain lets us know there's something wrong, serves a purpose. If everything is created from the wisdom of the ages, it's got a role. I was working with a man in Israel, and he was so stressed, and everything I talked to him about thought didn't help him, because stress was his enemy, and he was ashamed of it and didn't like it and hated it and wanted to get rid of it, didn't want to feel it. And I knew he was very religious. I knew that, but I had no clue how to talk to him about this. So finally, I let go of everything I knew. And what occurred to me in that moment was I said to him, my friend, do you know what stress is? It's a call to prayer. And he understood prayer as you let go of everything to be open to being influenced by something greater. And as soon as he learned stress reminds him of being open to divine influence, that insight changed his life and our work was done. Everything changed for him. Stress was no longer an enemy. And all during the day, he was reminded of God. That changed how I looked at stress right from then on. That was an insight I had while he was having an insight. I was having an insight. My way of, and my relationship to my own stress and upset changed. It's a beautiful thing. Serves a purpose. It's like your best friend. Like in London, you have to look the opposite way in the street for cars than you do in the United States because everything is backwards in my mind. And so my wife would have to keep grabbing my shoulder before I stepped in the traffic because I was looking the wrong direction. So they even write down signs on the road to remind all the people from outside of England to look in the opposite direction. And so her grabbing me to keep me from stepping out into traffic is like how I feel like tension, stress, and upset are grabbing me to keep me from throwing myself into my thought traffic, where I have horrible accidents. They have to call the relationship ambulance. Take me away on a stretcher. So it's a beautiful reminder. So Susan, I'm glad you heard something there that was helpful. Who else?
Can I just say thanks for that was just beautiful. And what I was reminded of was the not having to know things. I remembered hearing this a couple of years ago and thought, oh, it's okay. I thought I had to know everything. I thought I had to be on top of, well, what if they asked that question? What if someone asked this question? I need to. So I was never present. I was always needing to know and be on top of that knowledge, whatever that was, I don't know. But then I heard something in that and it was like, oh, but I forgot again until just now. And then you reminded me. I'm like, oh, there's, but what I heard different in that, Dicken, is the fact that being in the not knowing and then comes a better feeling because I'm not rummaging around in the knowing to figure out how do we do that? What do we need to do there? So by not knowing, the feeling just completely changes. And then something appears and then I do know. If that even makes any sense.
There you go. Are you kidding me? And I love your metaphors of rummaging around. You know, we go into the attic and we're rummaging around all the stuff we have stored up in the attic, thinking the answer lies somewhere in that stuff that ends up in a rummage sale. Right. And then to find out when we come down out of the attic into the living room, and then there's no rummaging. And it is a different feeling. There's the feeling of thinking and all those feelings. And then there's the feeling of presence, which is just the absence of rummaging, absence of searching, trying, looking for information. And then the beautiful discovery, and you said it perfectly, Pauline, then something occurs to you. It's a great discovery that wisdom will always bring you what you need if you're open and receptive to it in any situation. Things occur. One time, Sid did a whole talk on the difference between thinking we do and thinking that pops up when we're not doing our thinking. And he says there's two different orders of thought, and all the deeper feelings are created from thinking that pops up. You can't think your way to happiness or peace or joy or insight or inspiration. It's impossible. You can't think your way to new and fresh because you're using stored information or memory. And so sometimes it would say, if you just go beyond all memory for a moment, you'll find the answers you're looking for. So I like that, the rummaging around, and then the feeling, and then the deeper knowing. So Sid would say there's knowing, and there's knowing. There's seeing, then there's seeing. There's hearing, it's just being open to that deeper place of knowing, of love, of aliveness. As my friend Mara Olson says, when you feel better, you do better, period. As a parent, as a student, as an employee, as a boss, as a parent. Yeah. Thanks, Pauline. Who else?
Brenda.
Hi, Brenda here.
Yeah, hi, Brenda.
Hi, Dicken. Hi, everybody. I'm coming from Vancouver in Canada on the unceded territories here of the Coast Salish peoples. And Dicken, I'm swirling around because I thirst for knowledge and knowing. And is there a point when what you know and the intellect drops into the heart space? Like, where is that? It feels like I feel cuspy on it. It's like, oh, I'm almost there. It's like, oh, I know everything. Oh, I know nothing. And it's like being in Shavasana. It's like, in yoga, oh, I know the whole world. And then it's like, oh, I know nothing. But
Yeah.
where's that for the intellect to fall into the heart?
Well, here's how I think about it. When I'm in my intellect, I've temporarily closed off access to pop-up thinking. So I've temporarily closed off access to deeper feeling and deeper knowing, which can be helpful at times to use our laptop that we've been given at birth. Thank God we've got this gift, and it's nice to be able to process information or analyze. When it's helpful, you'll know it. When it's not helpful, it creates tension and stress. Now, here's the other piece of it. When I drop out of my intellect, I don't lose anything of value that's in the intellect, because wisdom includes the intellect. It's all one mind. It's the same mind. So wisdom can easily draw on what you know in your intellect and make it available to you in the moment. Like when you're driving a car, you don't forget everything you know when you drop into the now. You don't have to relearn how to drive the car over and over again. You have to relearn anything you've learned that's of help to you in terms of your life or your relationships. So you get Sid called it getting the best of both worlds, rather than only the best of information, right? You can't find love and wisdom in a computer. You can find really good information. And trust me, I love to Google shit. I do it all the time. It's so fun to be able to just Google anything about anything and you get all this cool information. That's the benefit and beauty of having an intellect. All right. But there's a difference between when our intellect is isolated from the world wide web of wisdom. Right. And then we realize this deeper connection and a deeper knowing where we find answers to life and to anything. So then the intellect works in harmony with wisdom. And wisdom is relied on for guidance rather than trying to rely on the intellect for guidance. We rely on the intellect for good information and great memory, helpful memories. But you won't find guidance from the computer. You wouldn't go to your computer to say, should I marry this person? And it'll give you all kinds of information. Give you all kinds of information, but it won't give you the knowing from your heart. Right? So we begin to, when we feel tension, stress, or upset, it means we're over relying on the intellect to guide us in life. And that if we let go of that, a deeper, truer, more helpful, universal guidance system will kick in. I think Krista Campso is here, my guide inside. She talks to little kids about everybody has the guide inside. When we're open to it, that guide will guide us through our lives at any age.
Thank you, Dicken.
No, you're welcome. Thanks.
Arvin, please.
Oh, hi. Hi, Dicken.
Arvin. Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Very good, very good. It's
Yeah,
a very nice
good.
song. Something just I've been thinking about, but I couldn't, I guess I couldn't answer myself. So intellect and the wisdom, right? So is there's a human nature, like actual, like, we are born with certain kind of a quality that is also a wisdom. Like for example, let's say we are inclined to be in a social animal, right? Is
Okay.
that wisdom, or is that built in within ourselves to be?
Is it innate, inborn to be social?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not to be social, we are social, whether we know it or not. We're always connected. So we're social beings because we're all intimately connected to life and to each other. And that's what wisdom can teach us, the truth of our connection to people already. I don't have to be social. I am a social being. I'm connected to everybody.
Huh.
In a sense, Arvin, you're my brother, right?
Okay.
We share what gave birth to us and is keeping us alive right at this moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? We're social in the sense that all the waves on the ocean are connected to each other. It's one society, one community already.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Okay. Maybe I was looking at a very small picture instead of the bigger. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
is a bigger picture. I'm presenting the picture because I used to think I have to develop relationships with people. I have to become social rather than realizing I am related, I am social. And that changed how I responded to people,
Mhm.
right? I could see their beauty. I could see behind the mask, Halloween mask of your thinking persona.
Mm,
I know there's this connected, loving human being full of beauty,
yeah.
as we all are.
Mm,
It's not a belief, it's a discovery. It's when I let go of everything, I start discovering these universal qualities.
mm,
And then I can see them in other people and see that when they drop in, they become these universal qualities.
yeah.
Right? So it's nice to think that we already are all one family. We're all connected. We're all part of the
Mm,
same species.
yeah.
We're all human being.
Mm,
Right?
yeah.
That makes a difference. It makes a difference. You know,
Yeah.
if I think I'm only Dicken, separate and different from you, then it'd be very easy for us to have differences and disagree and fight and have conflicts. And that's what we call ego. So when you have people wedded to their egos, conflict is inevitable. And you see that all over the world right now.
Mm,
So
yeah.
Sid would say, as people wake up to their true nature one by one, we go beyond ego and we start creating a wisdom-based society rather than an ego-based, conflict, war-based society.
Mm, yeah.
And it's built into us to be peaceful and loving and kind.
Mm,
It's built into people. I've seen people who were sent to prison for acts of violence and cruelty. And as they learned the principles and fell out of that thinking, unbelievable the warmth and kindness, and some of the greatest 3P teachers had spent time in prison or being drug addicts or being homeless or having debilitating diseases, and they've discovered their well-being, which is prior to all of that.
mm,
And so it creates it's a different way of understanding society.
yeah.
So we are, in my mind, we're born social because we're all part of the same
Mhm.
web, the same community, the same ecosystem,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
Great, great,
Thank
great
you.
to see your face
Yeah.
picture.
Same. Thank you.
Thanks,
Okay.
Thanks, Arvin. Pernil, go ahead.
Hello, Dicken. I
Okay.
am what you probably would call a new bloomer in the 3P content. I would very much like to know if you have a suggestion of what to do when the thoughts take over, so to speak. It's absolutely wonderful to be in the not known and to be without the thoughts and feelings taking over. But when that happens, do you have any suggestions of how to kind of put a stop to it? What to do in that connection, please?
Oh, you're going to hate my answer. You're going to hate my answer. I'm not a fan of putting a stop to anything we're experiencing. Like if it's, let's say it was raining out and you said, oh, I hate this rain, I got to put a stop to it. And you run outside and you're doing all these different things trying to put a stop to it. Here's the paradox. When we stop trying, when we fall out of our thinking, we stop trying, And then whatever thoughts come and go are going to come and go, whatever feelings are going to come and go. So in that sense, if you don't do anything about it, it passes quicker than if you're thinking about it, trying to get rid of it. So when I first started learning this, I kept trying to do all this stuff. And when we just are present, we're not trying to do anything. There is no trying in the now. And if you feel lousy, you feel lousy. So my wife would say, "You look lousy." And I say, "I am." "What are you going to do about it?" I don't have to do anything. In other words, I started experiencing what a friend of mine calls being in the eye of the hurricane. I'm feeling lousy, but I'm just present to it. And I'm not judging it. I'm not trying to fix it, stop it, change it. It's just nature. It's just my weather. It'll pass. Every thought storm I've ever had passes. And when I try, it lasts longer. And when I don't try, it passes quicker.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Because you will have thought storms, and that's normal. You will have weather. We call that being in a low mood. That's natural. If you don't fight it, you go through your low moods gracefully. If you fight it, it extends the low mood. Any trying people do when they're in a low mood is thinking that creates stress. So every time we'd say to Sid Banks, "I'm trying to have a quiet mind," say, "Oh no." Oh, good luck with that. I've never seen anybody get there through trying to have a quiet mind, trying to be present, trying to just be yourself, just relax and be yourself. And if you know it's thought, and if you know your well-being is always there, you don't think the sun has gone away just because it's raining out. And you know it's going to pass. And when it passes, right? And so you become less and less judgmental of what you're experiencing, less worried about it, less concerned about it. It's normal to have low moods. That's another whole topic, but it's normal to have ups and downs in our thinking. And that space of freedom space is always there underneath the ups and downs. If you have an ocean that's very rough, the quiet is not by trying to calm the waves down, it's by dropping below the waves, and it's very quiet underneath the waves, always. Has nothing to do with trying to have it become on the surface. That's why, like with little kids, when they're really upset, you tell them they can't have a cookie and they throw a temper tantrum. And if you get upset and try and stop them from being upset and get more upset with them, it just makes it worse. And if you just be present and kind to them, pretty soon they start thinking about something else. Same with us. Start thinking about something else and I start feeling something different. Is that helpful?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, it does make sense.
Tell me what you heard that makes sense. I'm curious out of that, what you heard that made sense to you.
Not to try to change anything, but to be with whatever occurs in the present moment, and resting assured that it will passes. And the more I try not to cling on to it and try to change it, the sooner and the faster it will go. It will disappear, like the cloud that passes through the sun. The sun is still there, and the cloud will disappear. So that was what I kind of understood.
I have goosebumps.
Heard you say.
I have goosebumps listening to you. I can tell you heard. that got a little clearer for you.
Indeed, I did. Yes, thank
Yeah,
you.
very. I can hear the kindness in that too. Sort of being kind to yourself when you're going through a low mood. Right? Less thinking, you have less and less thinking about the fact that you're going through a low mood. That's what kindness is. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank
That's
you.
a good question. I still have that question at times, so it's one we'll keep asking many times, but you keep hearing it a little deeper each time.
Thank you for now.
Thank you, Dicken. And thank you, Kelly, for you too. Thank you.
I wanted to say one thing just as you opened when you started. You said, you know, that you were new or new to the concepts. And I just thought, we're all new.
Yeah.
Every day is new.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, well,
So,
yeah.
Thank you.
Each day brings a fresh beginning, so to speak, doesn't it? Yeah.
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 So what you brought
Thank you.
was new for everyone. So thank you for bringing it.
Thank you.
Miss Carolina Barker, please.
Hello. Yes. Happy 100.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. Hi, Kelly. How are you?
Great. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. So
Good to
nice
have
to
you.
see. So nice to be here. I wanted to ask you, because I've been having a lot of conversations with people lately about Israel and
You've been
Palestine.
having conversations.
I had a few
Well,
conversations. You know, I'm a bit talky, but and for the first time, when I hear a lot of people saying, "There's no answer here. There's no answer. There's no solution."
Yeah.
When in my head, it's been, no, yes, there is. I know we've seen as humans the impossible being done, and peace and loving feelings and security within conflict.
Yes.
And as I saw you here, Dicken and Kelly, like, what better people to hear a little bit about that, like, you know, that impossible thing that happening, those moments where we see, oh no, that's never going to happen. There's no way. There's no solution. Like, there's no need to find how is it going to be sorted out. There's something that tells you, like, some hope. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know that every conflict that exists was created by people's thinking. And I know that every solution that exists has been a new thought that arose for people. And I have personally witnessed situations that people called impossible. I've seen them change as people got new thinking. One of the ways that I have hope, so that we don't have to be waiting around for somebody to come up with an idea that changes the conflict in the Middle East, is that we can each help participate in creating peace in the Middle East if we understand that we are all connected to one system. And I like to think of the universe as an ecosystem. And in any ecosystem, as one part of the system gets healthier, the whole system gets healthier. So that as each of us here learn more about the nature of thought and consciousness and this connection with life, we fall into a space where we literally bring more love and kindness into the world, more peace of mind into the world. And that's changing the ecosystem. Right? So on a physical level, there's time and there's waiting and there's changes that have to be made. But on a spiritual level, there's another level of change that allows each of us to participate in bringing more love and understanding, more peace into the world. And it's very hopeful. You get enough people dropping into their heart and living there more often, the Berlin Wall comes down, the Great Wars end. Surprising changes happen that can't be explained or understood purely by looking at the outside. I've seen marriages where people had already signed the divorce papers drop into their heart and start learning about their true nature. And before you know it, they were having a better relationship than when they first met. I've seen that happen. I've seen companies on the verge of bankruptcy. And a year later, they're the highest producers in their company. I've seen that. I've seen change happen. I've seen people living in suicidally hellish despair who, through touching this space and being informed by that space, being infilled by that space with deeper feeling, have gone past my level of well-being. I saw what happened to Sid Banks. You could never tell him that massive change is not possible for people. He says we're a thought away from a whole new life. We've just been misinformed and we've been looking in the wrong direction for well-being, and we haven't understood our connection to the whole of life. And more people are starting to realize the truth of that through their own experience. Even little kids. Look at all the kids in the programs now for kids in Canada and in the US and in UK, and where kids are having shifts in their level of consciousness and leaving the world of dysfunction and despair and walking around radiant beings of well-being and having an impact and effect on their families and friends and the people around them. But also on a deeper level, having an effect on what Sid called the overall level of well-being of the world. And we all play a part in that one. We all play a part. So at any moment when we start to despair, as sometimes I do when I watch the news, I know that feeling is an invitation to bring more love and kindness into the world rather than living in my personal ego despair. It's an extremely relevant question. I tried to speak on that at the conference in London this year, the 3P UK conference on compassion, wisdom's response to suffering, and how that's built into us to be compassionate and to bring more of that into the world. South Carolina, it's a really good thing for us to be reflecting on and learning more about. We're all part of the solution here.
Mm-hmm.
no exception. Everybody can play a part. Everybody, even if you are homebound, you can play a huge part in helping to raise the overall level of consciousness of the world, because we're all connected. It's all one ecosystem. Is that helpful, Carolina?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Thank you so much.
So good to see you. I was just thinking about you this morning. Funny how that works.
Yeah.
Oh, what did I have written here on my little pad of paper?
Love it. Love it.
Thank you so much for the.
Funny how the universe works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for inspiring the question, Carolina. And stay the way, my friend. Stay the way.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked everything from washing the dishes to world peace. So I think we've covered all the bases here, Kelly. And I want to thank you for inviting me to this wonderful party of beautiful people.
I want to thank you for coming. And I want to say before we go, just because Natasha is in the room and I promised myself, Thomas, I have a feeling, Thomas, my dear friend, any chance you happen to have their book Coming Home in your repertoire on your desk there? Because I know you held it up at one time.
Well, Kelly, thanks so much for inviting me. Dicken, amazing talk. I feel like I get younger every time I listen to you. So I have
That's my hope too.
Yeah. I have a beautiful copy of Coming Home, which I read often on my Kindle, Kelly.
Okay, terrific.
But if there's something you'd like me to get from it, I can.
Okay. No, thank you, Annie. That's beautiful. I gave my copy away to someone else. So to celebrate this beautiful book shared between Dicken and Natasha Svedlov is something that has come into now many languages. And as of the 27th of April, a date in which they'll both remember because it came into yet another language. And so you can get it in your language or English or whatever you need. And it inspires that place that Dicken has been speaking to, as well as Dicken's new course coming up on May, or Dicken, can you tell me, I believe, I don't have it right in front of me. It's May 25th, is it? Or
it's starting Thursday, and it's called Wake Up to This Precious Moment. And it's going to be a bunch of us just exploring this notion that I've introduced today of living more fully in the precious moment.
Mm-hmm. And so I'm certainly going to enjoy meeting any and all of you who participate in that. And Dicken, I can't say enough for the things that you've done to bring the principles alive for me and for this world in this kind mind community and for the world of three principles. And, you know, I'm honored at this gift that you've offered everyone here. And
thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. And for those of you who have come, and it might be your first time, come again. You're always welcome. And I always open the doors for anyone and anyone who would like to hear or listen to beautiful people like Dicken and Natasha and Carolina, and Thomas, and all those that are in community of spreading the message globally and individually. So anyone who wants to turn on their mics and say goodbye to Dicken, please do. And Cecilia, will you type your message in the chat and I will send it to Dicken personally? Cecilia had a question, Dicken, and it was the last question of the day. So I would love you to type it in and I'll send it to Dicken.
I'll be glad to answer it.
Yeah. So goodbye, everybody. Kind mind.
Bye.
Thank you, Dicken. Thanks, Kelly.
Bye, Kelly.
Thank you.
Kelly,
Bye.
thanks.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you,
Bye.
Dicken.
Bye, everybody.
Say hi to Koisi.
I will.
Yeah, I love the cozy.
Yeah.
If you have 1 minute, Dicken, I'd love to keep you on for a second. Or if you're gone, that's okay. Goodbye, everybody. Lovely having you. Thomas,
Thank you,
Thank
Kelly.
you, Kelly.
I know you had
All the best.
I know you had a question. Do you want to pipe it in? I'll send it to Dicken.
You know, it was actually so similar to Carolina's. I put my hand down.
Okay.
It was amazing. So, but thank you so much. It's an amazing chat today with Dicken.
Yeah.
Take care, and we'll talk soon.
Absolutely, we will. We'll be talking very soon. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming. Nina, Antonia, Liz, Allison, Marilee, Dina, Rakoko.
Hey, Kelly,
Bye.
can you do me a favor? Can you
Yes.
kick me out?
Oh, yeah.
I'm stuck in the meeting. I can't press any buttons to leave. Thank you so much.
Yes, I can. Thank you for your service and help. This is my VA. She's a beautiful, kind soul. And
My pleasure.
actually, I can't even kick you out. Why is that?
No, I can't. Any button I press, nothing happens.
Okay, let me get that problem
Maybe,
solved.
can you unco-host me? I don't know. Just do something.
Let me see.
I can't even turn off my iPad right now.